Hey everybody, welcome to the Table Ready live stream. It's been a while, but we're here, and we've even got Kristian, haven't we, Kristian?
I'm back.
Yep. So we knew the Pacific would tempt him out.
Of course, out of my
Yep.
cave.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's good to have you back on board.
Yes.
So,
Cheers, guys.
yeah, so hello to everybody. There's quite a few people in the chat, so I won't go through everybody, but yeah, thank you for joining us. Hopefully you'll enjoy what we've got to see. Probably just a very quick disclaimer before we get into this stuff. I've been having chats with people who seem to think we've seen the book yet, and we kind of haven't. So this is us talking about what we know, what we understand of what's coming, and possibly some speculation about what we'd like to see. So we will answer what we can, and we've got some good info, but yeah, we're not talking from being able to look stuff up in the book yet. Oh dear. So anyway, if you don't know who we are, I'm Harry from Fog of War, and I haven't been doing much lately. Adam, who are you, and what have you been doing?
G'day, yeah, Adam from Dice of War. Also the odd freelance article writer for BF Battlefront. The odd painter when I get around to it, and yeah, going through at the moment doing some decals. So the Dice of War, I'm into dice, and I thought I'd branch out into decals. So I'm doing some more decals up for mid-war British at the moment.
And you've been doing some nice painting of mid-war Brit stuff, haven't you?
I've been trying to do some Valentines and some Humbers. So I did a bit of mad research and looked up a Dragoon unit. The first Royal Dragoons, they've got all the little bitsies that I want. So they've got Humbers and Daimlers and AEC Mark 1s and all sorts. So, yeah, that sort of stuff.
Excellent. Well, we'll have to have a tournament so we can put them all on the table at some point.
Hey, that's an idea.
Which will make me paint my my 3D printed 2-pounder 4Ts finally and eventually.
Well, they look good.
They do look good, but they're sitting there primed and nothing else for over a year now.
Did you print them yourself?
Yeah, absolutely.
Ah, cool.
Yeah, they're just off Thingiverse. They were a really easy print. Yeah, no, they're good fun. Awesome. So, Kristian, who are you, and what is happening with your channel? There's a lot happening with your stuff at the moment. Let everybody know.
Yeah, well, I'm Kristian from Painting Panzers. I'm the pale guy on the screen. Basically, I do a bit of everything, dabbling a bit of 28mm, 20mm, 15mm. And yeah, so my YouTube's been a bit busy at the moment with Warlord Games and Green Goes Forward and a few other companies. They're 28mm. But I am going back into the Flames of War realm soon, hopefully. Scale trayer. Yeah, I do love the 20mm.
Sorry, I can edit stuff.
No, you have to do it. It's funny because I love the 20mm stuff at the moment, but Flames of War has always been a big what's the word? I love Flames of War. Always will do. I love the scale of it, and I love the Battlefront models, especially the old metal infantry models. So yeah, I'm not going anywhere.
Great. But I mean, your stuff has been making real traction. I mean, your channel is growing at a very amazing rate. Are you happy with that?
Quickly. Oh yeah, of course. I didn't think it would grow as quickly as it is. You know, I'd like it to grow even quicker if I could, but yeah, I'm happy with it at the moment. I just don't think the stuff I'm doing at the moment is as popular because it's more Pacific themed up until recently. So
yeah,
I was trying to get people to love the Pacific, but it's just not happening.
I think people do. It's just lots of people just like Germans. Like I think that's I've kind of noticed it with everything. Like the stuff that the dice sets that sell mostly Germans. So
yeah.
And most people play Germans. I know the first army I ever played was Germans. So
same. Yeah. Well, I mean, they've got the most amazing looking vehicles and guns and stuff. So of course you're going to be drawn to that.
Yeah.
But I think if a lot of people just take a minute to really appreciate what happened in the Pacific War, you can get some amazing scenarios going.
Yeah.
There's some just insane stories of heroism and huge defeats and stuff, which, is something that you hear a lot of on the Western Front, but not so much on the Pacific side of things.
Yeah, whereas I interviewed a bunch of veterans, some of whom fought at Port Moresby in Kitty Hawks. They were flying Kitty Hawks for 75 Squadron. And Adam, you were talking about Milne Bay. The same guy was flying out of Milne Bay at and Goodenough Island. So yeah, there's a whole bunch of stories there, but they're just not as well known.
Yeah.
So
I think a lot of that to do is them not actually telling their stories too until much later than the other stories. So
yeah,
for whatever reason, but yeah, I think definitely if people look into the Pacific Theatre, you'll see so much really cool stuff that you've never heard of.
I think a big part of it is the politics at the time as well, which has prevented it from being such a focus in the history books and being taught and stuff, because the politics was all about, defeating Germany. Japan was, especially for the Commonwealth, Japan was more of a, if we can get our colonial countries back, great, but we're focused on being the Germans at the minute.
Yeah. So we are going to be talking about the Pacific. So let me just wang the slides up. Scott's saying, I wonder if we'll get to short 25-pounders for the Anzacs. Yeah, we might. We might touch on that briefly. You never know. We like our snorts here.
Snort.
So what we're going to talk about is the Pacific. So that's going to specifically cover 1942 to 43. So it's very much the mid-war for that. So I know when we were talking version 3, there was also the early war for the Japanese, which was them fighting the Russians and whatnot, wasn't it? Adam, do you remember that?
Was Kashin Gao or whatever. That was the Soviets fighting the Russians.
That was in the Rising Sun book. Yeah. So, yeah, we're going to be talking about that. Now, as I said, we haven't actually seen it, but, we'll talk about what we do know because there has been some information released about when it's coming out and the sort of army deals and things that we might have. But just very, very, very briefly, perhaps we should talk about this. Kristian, I know this isn't your thing particularly, but... So Clash of Steel's coming out. That's actually coming out in April, isn't it, Adam?
Yeah, I believe so. From what I've been told, the actual starter kits, I mean, if you like it, are actually a pretty good deal. I know some people have been saying, look, if there's I think BF has said there's plans for a Checkpoint Charlie. So some of those vehicles I'm sure you could use for Checkpoint Charlie. And yeah, I guess this is probably leads. I don't know if you've seen the actual advert or ad on Facebook for it. Obviously, they're working this with their tanks, with the World of Tanks range. Yeah. Like it's all sort of molded into that. So I think I personally like it. I like that kind of weird, cool, what if sort of stuff. But I know there's plenty of gamers that are very much, no, this is history, this is what happened, blah, 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 boring. But, it's cool, horses for courses. If you don't like it, don't buy it. But
So what do you feel about that, Kristian?
Oh, look, the vehicles look cool, but it's not my cup of tea. I don't know what it is. I just, Team Yankee, modern sort of this sort of thing is not really my scene. Although I like the Vietnam era stuff, so I don't know. Yeah. I just can't get into it. I'd rather just World War II.
The Cold War was my sort of thing, probably because I'm old enough to have been alive during it. So, some of the vehicles are interesting, but as far as I know, and correct me if I'm wrong, Adam, it's the Flames of War rules. So it's essentially the same rule set. but
Yeah,
without
it is.
stuff like infantry or assault or any of those. So there's a bunch of those have been stripped
I
out.
think there is infantry in it, but I don't think you'll have anything like anti-tank guns or artillery or.
Right.
I'm not even sure if there's aircraft. I haven't seen anything like that.
Yeah,
so,
I haven't seen anything but tank on tank. So
yeah.
it seems to be like a gateway drug for the World of Tanks guys to step it up to a more complex rule set.
I think they're trying to attract new players. So there's plenty of people that play World of Tanks that don't play tabletop war games. So I guess they're trying to, as you say, attract new players, which is cool. I mean,
Makes sense.
If they're going to make all these models for the World of Tanks game, then they may as well try and see if it'll work.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so it's the first two that are due out. There's a German and British starter set, and there's an American and Soviet starter set, isn't there? Yeah.
I have to say, I really love that tortoise.
Yeah.
I know they only had like one of them or three of them, and it couldn't even cross a bridge in Europe, but I don't care.
Yeah. So it is. There's a bunch of individual things. Like I'm really waiting for Conqueror to come out for the British.
Yeah.
You know, to have a Centurion squadron, but to have their long range Conqueror troop as well.
Yeah,
would be kind of fun, and that's exactly what would slot into Checkpoint Charlie if that happened. So yeah, it was kind of obligatory that's coming, and we really needed to talk a little bit about it. Is there anything else we want to talk about that before we move on? Or are we all here for the Pacific? Kristian, I know you're all here for the Pacific. All right, there we go, Pacific.
Hey.
So, yay! So this is kind of what we know. So it's a 200+ page hardback rulebook. It's covering the period 1942-1943. So that is the Japanese invasion of everywhere in the Pacific. You'll be able
Malaysia,
to do
Singapore,
Philippines,
the Indochina, New Guinea, all that. Basically all of Asia.
Yeah. So you'll have all of those battles in 1942, and then in 1943 you'll start getting the pushback. So that's when the island hopping campaign with the Marines starts. And there'll be all the fun Australian stuff as well about the defence of Moresby, Kokoda, and then the pushback at Milne Bay. If I remember correctly, the pushback of the Japanese landing at Milne Bay was the very first invasion defeat of the Japanese army by
it was the very
a bunch of Australian dudes.
Yeah, it was the very first land defeat of the Japanese in the Pacific. I think the Japanese only thought there was a couple companies at the at Milne Bay.
Yeah,
but they landed, I think, something like 3,500 people, US engineers and air crew just to build the airstrip, plus another 6,000 troops, Australian troops, basically. Yeah.
So I interviewed a pilot who operated off that strip, and he was saying it was all like the place was a marsh. There was just wall-to-wall mosquitoes everywhere. And the only way they could make an airfield, like there wasn't actually any land. They got this steel matting from the Americans called Marsden matting. Yeah. And they just put it down on top of the swamp. And like when you landed on it, it undulated like a wave because it wasn't actually on hard ground. It was like floating on top of this shit. And he said there was this bow wave of water that would come up over your cockpit and you couldn't see shit. But eventually you could actually get down and land and they would push you off somewhere. But he said it was like trying to land on the top of the ocean, and this thing would just like, you would land and this ripple would run along this Marsden matting ahead of your aircraft.
Well, if you see those floating foam bridges they have on the ocean, and it'd be like that.
It was exactly like that.
Yeah, because didn't the Japanese take like 3 tanks or something, and they got pretty close to the airfield.
2 hard goes,
right?
Yeah.
No, they bogged and then they ran out of fuel. But but the strange thing of anything Well, the Australians didn't have anything to deal with them, and that's what they said. They had these tanks just going up, machine gunning everything. And all the Aussies had was bloody sticky bombs. And the problem with the sticky bombs was that they wouldn't stick or they wouldn't go off.
Yeah.
So they just didn't have anything to take them out. It was luckily that they did bomb because, they were attacking at night.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did hear a story of one of the pilots saying how the Aussies were basically getting attacked pretty badly by Japanese snipers up in the tree.
Oh,
and they
yeah.
went and spoke to the Kitty Hawk pilots and said, look, we're getting murdered by these guys. Can you do anything to help? So what they did, they got 4 Kitty Hawks to go in a row.
Side by side, yeah.
Side by side. And they got the Aussies to shoot up a very like a flare kind of thing. And they said, right, this is our front line. Don't shoot 100 meters back this way. And then just went in a line and they just, 50 cals just come, and then they shoot all the top of the trees off, and then you just hear these thumps. Thump, thump, thump.
Yeah, apparently you could hear the Japanese falling after the aircraft flew away. So the guy I interviewed, a guy called John Bailey, he had told me about that particular tactic, and he said the army kept bitching that they were strafing them as well, and they're going, look, we're not running short, we're not doing any of that. So they actually sent one of the pilots up to see what was going on while they were strafing. And it was the 50 cal empties dropping out of the aircraft down on the. So it's all these hot spent shells raining down all over the infantry. So they weren't getting shot; they were just getting rained in 50 cal brass, hot 50 cal brass.
Yeah, wow.
Oh dear. So that's what we know about the Pacific book. The Christmas message said things like there are 3 army deals coming, so that's the US Marines. Now, in the previous Pacific release, they were in the Gung Ho book, so the Marines have been in this before. The Japanese Army, who were in Banzai and Rising Sun, I think, and brand new, the British Far East. So, again, correct me if I'm wrong, because I've never played this era in Flames of War, but the British are new for this.
Yeah, there was never any British or Commonwealth forces in the Pacific.
Yeah, so it was US, Japanese island hopping stuff. Yeah,
that's all it was. It was just US versus Japan. I think there was US Army in the US Marine book as well.
Yeah, there are some Army units as well. I went back and had a quick look at the PDF of the old book.
But this will be the first time we've ever had British and Commonwealth troops in the Pacific, which I'm really pumped for.
So Australians and New Zealanders and Indians and all of those guys.
All the other men.
Yes. So, and as far as we know, and this is kind of unconfirmed, but as far as I'm aware, the release date is sometime in July or August this year. Again, that's I don't know either for sure, but again, that's the vibe we've been able to glean by shaking the tree.
It could move, I think, because hopefully everything goes well and it comes out then. But I know previously they've had issues where, some shipping things. So hopefully they're not shipping anything from Baltimore. So.
Yeah, that's true. Oh dear, and there's an awful lot of new plastic coming with this too, isn't there, for a lot of the vehicles? So it'll be kind of interesting to make sure there's no hold-ups in any of that too.
You'd think so, because I mean, every other mid-war release, if it's a black core, like a black core box unit, it's been plastic. So you would assume if there is tanks, they'd be plastic. Yeah,
Pete was reasonably clear that was what they were aiming for. So let's hope.
What about the infantry?
Yeah, not sure.
I hope they're metal. I hope they're metal, but
yeah, me too.
No, again, that's one of the things that we just haven't seen any info on. So let's have a look at some of the army deals and see what you're going to be getting. Oh, just before we move off this, they did actually say there was also going to be Pacific terrain releases too. So from Battlefield in a Box, we'll get some Pacific terrain, which would be nice.
Well, they did have some before.
Yeah, they did, yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, hopefully they've got more. Even more. June, July, GW release edition. Age of Blair.
I don't know if Games Workshop and Battlefront actually coordinate their release schedules, to be honest. Trek, and you might actually be correct. I don't know. But let's have a quick look. So this is the US Marine Army deal.
They look metal to me, Harry. They look metal to me.
Do they? Okay.
Yeah.
Jesus, I'm old. I can barely see that. Hang on. So let's have a look. Looks like a couple of platoons of infantry.
Oh, they got the dogs.
Marines.
They got the dog teams. They were cool.
That would be fun, actually.
Mortars. They've got mortars and machine guns, and just your rifle platoons, 480, and then your vehicles.
Oh, so they like a rifle platoon in that they got the support weapons mixed in. So
yeah, must do.
Like machine guns and.
Again, it would be the Marine organization, TO&E. So I'm guessing they took and integrated a certain amount of their stuff in with them.
I can't remember the old platoon structure, if they had weapons mixed in, if it was like straight rifle platoons with separate support weapons. I can't remember.
Yeah. But anyway,
From memory, I think they were mixed.
Yeah.
Righto.
So if you buy the Army deal, this is what you'll get. So there's, if we go tanks wise, so those are Stuarts at the back there. So I've already got those in plastic. I was intrigued because back when I reviewed the plastic Stuarts when they were first released, there is a turret option in there that's not used. And as far as I can tell, it's for the M3 Satan flamethrower. So you'd actually be able to have flamethrower Stuarts.
Would you?
Which would be kind of fun.
Nice.
So, again, it's on the sprue, and I'm guessing that's why it's on the sprue, because it's not used for anything else so far. And I mean, those plastic kits have been out for a while now.
Yeah, that's true.
And what's the other thing? Is that a T30? So it's the 75mm gun on the half-track chassis.
Which I'm really happy about, because I can use those for my armoured car platoons. Because it's the same vehicle. The auto car 75mm.
Yep.
Yay.
See, I would have liked those to be replaced with Amtracs. If you're going like a US Marine, I think 2 like Amtracs would have been pretty cool.
I'm guessing that you'll get Amtracs.
Yeah, you will, but they had those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I just think it's an army deal. I think it being Marines, island hopping, I think would have made
fair enough.
more sense from here's an army deal. Look, you've got 2 Amtracs as well.
Amtracs,
you can storm the beaches with your infantry. But anyway, that's just me.
It's more likely you're going to get the Amtracs as infantry transport for the rifle platoons. So yeah, that would be my guess. What do we got here? I saw a screenshot from the Marines BAR rifle teams that are OF11.
I wonder if they'll bring back the canister round.
For the 37mm canister round for the Stuarts?
For the Stuarts and whatever else. Because I know I did read a lot of accounts where they did use the canister round, and the Japanese really, really, really didn't like them.
Didn't like it. Yes, they don't like it up them. So Siegfried's saying, I saw a screenshot of the Marines BAR rifle team with rate of fire 1-1, because at this stage of the war, if those guys are Marines, a lot of those would still have Springfield 1903 bolt action rifles, wouldn't they? They wouldn't have Garands.
Same with their uniforms, right? They'll still be wearing the British helmet, or the US version of the British helmet.
Yeah, not sure. I'm
betting 42.
Yeah, I'm betting to cover the 42-43, these guys will have US helmets, so you can paint them with the camouflage cap covers. But that's just me going from a teeny tiny picture that I can't see very well that we took from a video from Christmas time. So, we're pulling an awful lot out of this. And what about the guns at the back? They look like 37 mil.
37 mils, yeah.
Tank. The same from the desert, I think.
Yeah.
Well, the same guns, obviously the cruise.
Yeah.
So interesting to see if those are going to be metal or plastic too.
Delicious metal.
Delicious metal. Okay.
Hey, the guns can be plastic, but the infantry needs to be metal.
Yeah.
Fair
I prefer plastic guns.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so let's do some speculation because Kristian, you called it that there's no Amtracs in that. And Amtracs are going to be for the 43 time period, aren't they, where they're starting to island hop? Because it's interesting, that 42 is the Japanese expansion in 42 and then the US and Allied pushback in 43, the start of that. So definitely going to be Stuarts because we've seen those, and definitely going to be the T30s.
Well, even the Amtracs they'll be the really early variants. I think like the LVT1. So you might not even get the gun Amtracs that you've got on screen now in the 43 period. I'm pretty sure when the Marines were going on to like Guadalcanal and stuff, they were just transported on LCVPs and LVT1s or something like that without much protection at all.
Yeah, so the gun ones are for fire support, I believe. So you wouldn't actually use them as infantry transport, or you would get one or two of them in. But yeah, the rest of them would be with machine gun.
But I think they
armor.
came later.
Yeah.
I'm thinking like really late 43.
They were later. You know what? I was like, how many? Like last week, I actually just realized that the CS in, you know how you've got like a Crusader CS and a Matilda CS and that sort of stuff?
The close support.
Yeah, it's not close support.
Oh, what is it?
Combat support.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I always assumed it was close support. And then I was looking up some stuff and it's combat support. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool.
We need to get you a quieter keyboard, Adam.
Yeah, I'm not touching anything.
Hey, I'm looking at that Stuart in the top left, and it's good to see that they've just hand painted that stripe on. So for all of those that want to get a precise, straight white line, they don't need to worry.
That's not historical accuracy that makes me want straight lines. That's like OCD. That's like something twitchy in my brain that's got no thing about whether or not it's historically accurate or not. Yeah. So you were loving the guy with the Thompson machine gun with the... Has it got a drum mag?
Yeah, it's got a drum mag. Yeah.
I love that
It
the
just
British...
looks awful.
Like the British were desperate for small arms everywhere, but they wouldn't buy the Thompson to start with because it was a gangster gun because they'd seen it on James Cagney films. It's like, come on, guys.
I love how that Stuart still got the machine guns in the hole there.
Yeah. Oh, it's got the side sponson ones.
Yeah, even more Dakar.
Mm-hmm.
And the
More Dakar
guy,
than you know what to do with.
The guy up the back, has he got a Thompson as well?
I'm old, I can't see. I have to leave that to you guys.
That's hard. Maybe.
No, I can't tell on that one.
Yeah.
But the Brits did use a Thompson even in 42.
They did eventually, but
just they wouldn't use the drum mag
in Malaya.
Getting stuff.
Yeah,
they were produced in India for them.
So what else are we looking at? So, interestingly, so I've got a Sherman down in the bottom corner there. So the Army would have large hatch M4A3s later in the war, but that's probably 44-ish. So that's a large hatch M4A2, which in Flames of War terms, they don't make. Oh, they've got a large hatch with the 76mm gun. Yeah, it's my pet peeves. I'm going to do Shermans. There's a hole. I can't do small hatch, and I'm not the only one. Look, Scott, thank you. M4A2 small hatch. I want M4A2 small hatch Shermans, please. All it is like an upper hull. Just do it.
Has it got like a different back, like a different grill at the back kind of thing?
Yeah, teeny tiny bit different.
Well, they better change that too.
Yeah. So, no, that's okay, rant over. But, no small hatch M4A2 for the Marines. Sorry, I had to do it. I had to do it.
You had to. I hope they bring out a storage set for the if they're going to release Shermans, so you can really make them
Yeah.
up armored.
Or re-release it, really.
Re-release. Yeah,
that's what the German half-track stowage set and the British desert stowage track pack. I bought shitloads of them, and yeah, they're just awesome, great heaps of stuff. What I really did like back when we had the Marines in V3 was the Shermans with the wooden.
Yes.
The wooden applique armor.
Yeah, that's. So I've actually got 5 of those I need to paint, but I always thought they were great, awesome. So hopefully they bring those back.
Trekan says Battlefront has the M4A2 engine back hull from the MCHA kit. Yeah. So if you wanted to, you can make an M4A2 large hull. Large hatch.
Large hatch, but not a small hatch.
But not a small hatch.
I'm going to have to go find out what the bloody difference is.
I actually bought a box of the M4A2 MCHAs just so that I can have one to review at some point if I ever get back to doing things on my channel.
Small hatch.
Yep. All right, so that's the US. Let's plonk on to... I've actually been having a lot of fun this week since we decided we were going to do this, learning about the Japanese Army and Japanese tanks and weird stuff like that. I've been down this rabbit hole this week. What are you guys looking for the Japanese release?
Lots of infantry.
Because for the Japanese, it was very much an infantry war, wasn't it? Yeah.
I'd like to see. I used to really like the old warrior teams, like the special warrior things
with their flag.
So I don't know if they will do it now, but maybe later they could actually do like at least one of the warrior teams out of the command cards and make a new miniature for it. I think that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah,
Ben wants Cyber Samurai.
Yeah, sure.
Wrong game,
Sure.
Ben. Although I do remember
It's not historical.
in one of our mid-war games, the only time I've ever faced the Japanese, they had like a samurai command team who ran up an oil drum and skewered my artillery observer. Bastards. They moved faster than I was expecting, and he got caught up the thing.
Actually, we have a couple of Japanese players in Perth. So there's a few Japanese armies going on. But I would like to see, I was thinking about it, I'd really like to see, you know, I think the Viet Cong, they have the bunker set with the wooden bunkers and stuff. I'd like to see something similar for the Japanese and spider holes and stuff like that.
Oh, like for the terrain, you mean?
Yeah.
As well as like sniper teams and stuff. Yeah, just for the terrain and miniatures and that.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about what was in V3 then and see maybe what will transfer across to the current version. So there used to be the banner special rules. So there was like a banner unit that would come along and they gave buffs of some sort in combat. And there were also the officers with swords, so there were actual rules for that, I believe. And Adam, you and I were talking about the human bullet guys, the Nikuhaku.
Nikuhaku teams.
Nikuhaku.
Yeah.
Anti-tank teams that basically had Molotov cocktails and anti-tank mines on a stick. So the idea was that you would, in close combat, run up to the tank with a hopefully sufficiently long stick to do the business, and basically poke a anti-tank landmine into the side of a tank, which would then go bang, and usually was not any fun for the guy with the stick.
Well, if you only lost your arm and not your arm and your head, you were lucky. So
they had the Banzai rule as well, right? Is it like if they go under 50% morale, they can do a Banzai charge or something like that?
Yeah, there were weird morale rules for they don't actually fail that morale test; they do something else. So it'll be interesting to see how those get translated, because version 4 has a lot fewer of those special flavor type rules, I seem to recall, as a general rule. Or is
Yeah,
that,
well, I think
is that fair
they
enough
try
to say, or?
I think they
Yeah, definitely.
simplify things. So what used to be like a heap of like extra rolls might just be one roll, or they never had skill checks or whatever before, you know. So
Yeah.
well, they did, but you know what I mean. Like, so they might have like a morale check or something.
Yeah.
I don't know, but yeah, I would think they would probably do something that would not slow the game down so much.
All right. Trekan's saying maybe something similar to Soviet Commissar rules, and yeah, that would probably be the closest thing you could think of, the equivalent that already exists. Oh, there we go. Benjamin says gun teams turning into banzaiing infantry teams. Yeah, so gun teams don't get destroyed; they just become an infantry team.
Well,
yeah, and go bananas.
Well,
Yeah.
I like that. It reminds me of like almost playing Orcs and Goblins in Warhammer.
Yeah.
You know, with the fanatic teams and things like that. Stuff that would normally kill things. You're just like, hey, cool. Now we can, you know, run.
And again,
with landmines.
If you're a big infantry army and your tanks are crap and you know that kind of stuff, you need something to make yourself competitive on the table. So yeah, that looks like fun.
And surely they'll get some sort of night rule as well.
Well, yeah, they did
operating
like
yeah, absolutely.
Even with their vehicles and that, I wonder if they'll get some sort of buff for operating at night.
I think that will be the thing that I would find it interesting playing as the Japanese against, you know, something like I don't know, a Sherman.
Yeah.
Is in that how your tanks are going to survive. Like everyone seems to get at least a plentiful supply of 6-pounder guns, or the American, you know, 37 gun, like something, any of those, even a 2-pounder. I don't know if they're going to have that. Well, can easily take out a Japanese tank. So I would imagine they're going to have to be cheap, and you're going to have to take a lot of them if you do want to take them.
Yep. I should think 50 cals are going to poke good holes in.
Oh yeah,
certainly the Hargo. Yeah. So I'm having a look. So this is the army deal here. So again, we've got the 2 infantry platoons. Looking up the back, there's 3 light tanks and 3 medium tanks, which we'll talk about in a minute. But I just noticed there's actually a smaller infantry gun team down the front as well. So there's a little 2-gun.
Oh, like the little Italian 65mm.
Yeah, thing. So it looks like a little like infantry support gun.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that is.
I'm not sure what that is either. I had assumed it was infantry or
calling. What is that small gun team? You said you had all of it.
All right. So let's have a quick look, because we've mentioned tanks. So let's talk about what's coming. So for that particular starter set, there's the Type 89 Chiro, or also known as the Igo, and the Type 95 Hargo, which is fair enough. The Type 95 is a light tank. The Type 89 is a medium. But we were discussing this during the week, and Kristian, you found out when they were phasing the Chiro out?
The 89 was being phased out like 42.
Yeah.
I thought it was a bit of a strange inclusion, because the Type 97 is a lot more common, or at least from what I've read.
I mean, that's more than half of Japanese tank production during the war were Type 97s, as far as I'm aware. So yeah, 42, 43, the Type 89 is right at the end of its run in 42. I mean, that's a tank that saw a lot of service in China.
Yeah.
I
mean, the Type 97 practically won the campaign in Malaya for the Japanese, so I find it strange that it was not included in the army box, but obviously it will come out in little boxes.
Although Malaya, I thought that was the Type 95, so the Battle of Slim River was a whole bunch of...
They had both.
But they broke the Gurkhas and the Indians with a charge of Type 95s down the highway. Yeah. No, it was during the day, but what they did was there was one road, and the British had improved it and straightened it several years before because it had been quite a curvy road, and had let the curvy bits go back to nature. The Japanese used the disused curvy bits to nip around behind the particular units as they did like a speed run, a thunder run down the thing. Anyway.
Right. Yeah. Sorry, I'm thinking of a different battle.
Yeah.
I do know, like, just from reading about all the Japanese push through Malaya, is that the Indians and the Commonwealth troops, they'd set up what they would think would be a roadblock, and they just get constantly outflanked through the jungle every single time. And then, and there was just nothing they could do. I think. Well, there would have been, just pull back even further and get to a more defensive position, but they didn't think like that, I guess, or weren't allowed to.
Yeah, but also that's part of why, I mean, the Japanese have very, very light tanks because you have to take them bashing through the bush and on narrow trails and, over muddy ground. So... you couldn't have a bigger, heavier tank because it would just sink.
Yeah, and that was fine until you ran into something something in the Stuart or whatever that was probably okay.
Yeah.
But, once you get to a Sherman or something. Yeah.
Oh, even the Type 95 Thunder Run stopped when they seized a bridge and then kept advancing and ran straight into a 25-pounder battery who just went, nah. And blew them all up because the 25-pounder at that stage of the war was quite useful against
the Battle of Slim River had 17 Type 97 tanks and 3 Type 95.
Oh, okay, so they were 97s. All right.
Yeah, I thought they were 97s. Yeah,
and I know in the Philippines the Americans only had Stuarts. They had a lot of Stuarts, but that's all they had. And I think it must have been the Type 97s that they had there, and the 95s. Like, even the Japanese then had problems where the rounds were just bouncing off the American tanks, but then they just go past the Stuarts and hit them from behind or something. So, and where the American tank crews there just weren't very practiced. They'd only just got the tanks, I believe.
Yep. So Forewarned and Forearmed says the two small gun teams are 70mm infantry guns. So thank you for that.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Benjamin saying, hope they re-release the Ho Ro and the Ho Ni. So as far as I know, those are the self-propelled guns on the tank chassis, aren't they? So the
Ho, I know the Ho actually got some.
I think one's anti-tank and the other one's
artillery
howitzer. Yeah.
Ho-ro.
I am betting that would happen.
What?
That those would come out.
Yeah.
Oh right, sorry.
Yep.
Yeah, the Ho-ro was the little self-propelled infantry one.
Yep. And the little Type 2 Kami, the boat tank. So that's the one with flotation things to turn it into a little boat. It's the same as when the Russians were turning their tanks into aeroplanes. What you get are really shitty boats and really shitty airplanes if you try and make a tank fly or float. But hey, if your tank can float and nobody else's can, I guess there's a place for that.
Yeah.
But I'd be expecting that you'd be able that those would turn up at some point too, because if nothing else, they're really cool. Davey Super Channel says Type 89 was used in the Philippines, Malaya and Burma, which would make sense because after that they'd all start being phased out and replaced by the 97s.
See, I Googled that and I couldn't find anywhere where it said the Type 89 actually participated in Malaya. But yeah, that's just from forums as well. Other people were asking the same question on forums.
Because I have seen stuff about Type 89s being in action in places during 41 and 42, but Oh, sorry, 42. But yeah, again, couldn't tell you specific places.
Oh, actually.
So what have we got? I spoke to one of BF staff. Apparently there isn't a fixed release date yet. So again, that may be entirely correct. We've gone with the information that we had that it was going to be July, August, but it wouldn't surprise me if that wasn't true. So yeah, no, that's fair enough. Benjamin says, yes, they're self-propelled guns. Honi was one of the only Japanese tank teams in V3 that actually had a chance of hurting an Allied tank. Yeah. So that had a long 47mm gun, or was that the one with the bigger one? Anyway, whatever. Not a Japanese armour expert. So talking about V3 stuff, I raided the website and had a look at stuff. So the guns in the starter set look like the Type 91 105mm guns. So that's the old picture. I'd be guessing in version 4 you wouldn't get the command or spotter teams.
No.
With that, you'd just get the gun teams. The Type 147mm AT gun, again, you'll get that without the command teams. Or hey, maybe you will get the command teams if they just press reprint on the molds they already had. Hey, nobody says no to a few extra figures.
No.
No.
Well, I often find them really useful for extra cool guys on the bases. Extra
That one in the top left is holding a samurai sword, so he would be useful.
Yeah, so there's also, I mean, I love the Type 95 Hargo with the tank commander with a sword.
Yeah.
Like waving it about, like, get off my tank.
Get me closer so I can stab them.
Charge, men. Yeah, no, that. Oh, dear. So that'd be fun. So those are the tanks you get. So the Type 89 Chi-Ro medium, the Type 97 Chi-Ha medium. Don't get any Chi-Has in the starter set. And yeah, the Hargo light tanks. So where are we with Japanese? Is there anything else anybody wants to mention about that?
It was the Type 95 Hargos they were fighting in the Philippines with M3 Stuarts. So.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
And that would be an uneven contest because I was looking at stuff that said they had like 6mm of armour or 9mm of armour.
Well, the Japanese won.
Yeah, they did, that particular bit. So yeah, it must have worked for them.
Yeah.
All right. But this is the new thing. This is the exciting, fun stuff that hasn't been available in the Mid-War Pacific before. That's British and Far East forces. Now, there's been some mutterings with this picture during the week about, so we've got Grants, we've got a Valentine there, and we've got some sort of Commonwealth infantry. So...
Look like Aussies, but could be Kiwis.
Could be Kiwis.
They're 100% British.
Yeah. My big chuckle, because, I mean, those look like standard Aussie slouch hats, which is great. If anybody doesn't know the New Zealand slouch hat, it actually comes to a point rather than ours, which are like flat on the top. But while we were researching that, I had a look, and they call them the lemon squeezer. So, like the old-fashioned, like, way to squeeze an orange or a lemon. And it's just, as soon as I saw that, it's like, that's exactly what they are. So yeah, the New Zealanders have the lemon squeezer hat.
That even came up when I Googled it. Well, you know what it looks like? It looks like American. Well, actually, they're the same. The Mounties use the same style of hat, just in black.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway,
yeah, you could paint them up to be anything really, other than Kiwis.
Yeah. So yeah, we don't have a picture of the army deal for that one, so we are a little bit limited in that we don't have anything but this image. So we can't really tell you what to go for. But again, the Valentines, which the New Zealanders were using, Valentine 3s and Valentine 3 CSs. We've got Grants and Lees were used by Indians and what have you. Kristian, this is your thing.
Actually,
Who used
there's a Grant and a Lee in that picture there.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and I think the Lees were far more common. The Grants, especially in this time period, were all but non-existent. I'm almost certain of that. The Lees
and they were mostly
common.
in the desert, weren't they?
They even I think the Grant. I think they even preferred the Lees purely because of the height of the turret and the extra MG that you had on there as well.
Yeah, one extra little MG at the top.
That was perfect for jungle warfare because it would just go right on the top of the trees and it could just shoot straight down and see what's coming at them. So, yeah, the Brits 100% preferred that. And obviously the Valentine participated in the Battle of Arakan, so we know that they've got those.
So, interestingly, the Australians bought Grants and actually equipped units with them and then didn't use them. They considered them unsuitable for jungle use. So that's why we sent Stuarts and Matilda 2s overseas, because James M is saying, where's A12 Matilda infantry tank? And yeah, that will be a question, because they will have to be included at some point. We were discussing this earlier and talking about there is the promise of a plastic Matilda 2, but we're thinking it's more likely that that's going to come with the early war release and have like Far East things on the sprue for Matilda Frog. And
we could be lucky and it comes out with the Pacific, but I would imagine that it probably is unfortunately going to come out with the early war whenever that is next year, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I wonder if they'll re-release the Gurkhas, the metal Gurkha blister, because I'm pretty sure you can use that. Other than like having a few other little bits of equipment, you could reuse that for this period as well.
Oh, easily.
Yeah.
My only gripe with this picture is I think they should have used, like, instead of the Grant, they should have put a Stuart there. If this is the time period that they're using, then I'd remove the Grant and put a Stuart in there. A couple of brain carriers, maybe. I don't know. Whatever you want to do. But.
So those are the sorts of things we're going to expect to see, aren't we? And there were Bren carriers and stuff. So I had some fun searching for images. So those are a Valentine 3 and a Valentine 3 CS of New Zealand forces being used on Guadalcanal and New Caledonia and places like that, and an Australian Stuart. So those are the sorts of things we're going to expect to see. Having the Valentine will be kind of fun, because that's got some reasonable armour, hasn't it?
Yeah, six or seven front from memory.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's pretty good for mid-war.
Yeah.
And I play tested a mid-war British infantry list that had just Lees and a couple of Shermans in, and that went really well. And that'll be the same sort of thing as what the Brits or as what the Commonwealth are going to have in their lists on this anyway. So it would be a good list to go up against the Japanese for sure.
And there's a lot of flavour with this stuff. So we're going to have the Indians, we're going to have the Australians, we're going to have the New Zealanders. I don't know if we're going to get Dutch, because they would only be in very early 42 for not very long. So, yeah, probably not.
It would be
but
cool.
Like the Chinese would definitely be included, even if it's just an infantry platoon as an addition to the British.
I'd be very surprised if they had Chinese in there, though. But hey, I'm willing to be wrong. It's happened before.
I mean, it would be a good market to target.
It would. So Benjamin's saying, just for the fun of it, let's add the Bob Semple tank, because apparently one was deployed. I remember doing the Bob Semple thing, and they actually sent it. No, they sent it overseas into combat. Can you imagine being the poor bastard in New Zealand to go, fine, I'll go over. I'm not going overseas in that thing. Like,
I'll take that over the Type 95.
put an extra sheet of corrugated iron on it, will you?
Mate.
That'll stop.
The front machine gunner had to lie on the engine cover to be able to fire his weapon. It's like, just shoot me before I go. Yeah. The Australian Armour and Artillery Museum restored an Australian grant. They actually have several. I remember watching one of their really cool videos about them going to a farm and just pulling them out of trees. Like, these things had things growing up through their engine deck. And they're just using enormous things to haul them out.
I saw those at the museum when I visited, and I saw the ones that they pulled out, and they were restoring it without. So they've restored 3, or 4 now. And the one that they were restoring was they're restoring it with like a like a rat rod, as in it's all dirty and rusty and whatever, just as it was kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, but they're redoing it with all the Australian equipment on it as well.
Yeah, because the Australian ones had add-on armour at the front, and they had anti-grenade shields.
Yeah, and other little
mesh
specific things inside. Yeah, which is cool.
But as somebody mentioned before, they didn't go overseas. So while Australia had them, they didn't deploy them anywhere. So they were used for training here. And apparently, there's one at Puckapunyal. I've been to the Puckapunyal Museum. If anybody gets a chance to go to see the museum there, it's absolutely worth a visit.
I don't know. I know I'm a bit of a what-if play, but it would be cool to do a whole Australian Grant Lee force, just to annoy all the history of grumble people.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So let's see. Have I got a silly slide? Yes, I have. So somebody said Bob Semple earlier. Yeah, there we go.
He is.
So there he is. Yeah.
What is that? So is that the driver's position that it's down?
Yeah. So it's the driver on.
Right.
Although I don't think, because the driver is actually much further back of a Holt tractor, so I have a feeling he's just looking down a big armoured tunnel that they've just opened the front of. And he's got like a 3-degree view left or right from there. But yeah, the poor bastard machine gunner next to that is actually lying on the hot engine deck.
Sweet. Right, he's got clothes on.
Yeah. So everybody's going short 25-pounder. So Adam, I put that in specifically for you. So you want snorts.
Yes.
What are you going to do with them?
Shoot Japanese people with them.
Oh,
no.
Okay.
So, how the Aussies used them is that they actually airlifted these in. So they couldn't get up in the hills where they were fighting the Japanese. They could not get heavy artillery there. So what the Australians did is they actually basically you cut off the barrel of a shotgun. They pretty much did that to the 25-pounder. And then made it so you could break it up into parts and chucked them on a DC-9 and flew them up in parts and then assembled them. And the Japanese were very, very surprised. Yep.
But apparently because it was made to be packed down, you could actually pack them in by mule if you had to, because it broke down into 18 mule loads. Yeah.
I think the first time they used them, though, I think it was Australian Commandos or maybe even almost paratroopers that they left it in. I can't remember exactly, but it was pretty cool.
So someone
the British
reckons
used something similar. It was the 3.7-inch Mountain gun, which they could just dismantle and carry around on mule as well.
Well, there was plenty of those around in the Pacific, and they had them in Tunisia. So I'm actually going to paint up some of those.
Yeah.
For my Tunisia.
So Benjamin's busy saying that having to lie on the engine deck to fire your Bren gun is a New Zealand barbecue. Oh man, I mean, fighting in a war sucks, but having to do let's not do that. Trekan says being in the tank or lying on the engine deck in the Pacific makes no difference because it'll be hot, but there's hot and there's whatever. Yeah. Now, the Sentinel I put in there is just me being cheeky. I do not expect to see a Sentinel in plastic with this release. I would like to see the Matilda Frog, though.
I'd like to see the Sentinel with the 25. Was it Which was the one they had with the twin 25 pounders? Was it the?
Yeah, that was the experimental one, and that was how they made up the weight because they didn't have a 17-pounder gun. So it's like, we'll just stick two 25-pounders in it.
Yeah.
We'll be right.
How cool would that be? I saw
The
Colin.
Matilda Frog was the most.
Yeah, I think so. But was that late war, or was that
What was that? The Matilda Frog
the frog?
would definitely be 43.
Yeah,
surely.
you'd think so. 43.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, 44, 45 apparently.
Yeah. Okay. So
Oh,
maybe
okay.
not.
Maybe not. All right. Yeah, Forewarned Forearm says 44, so it's out of the scope. So, yeah, we shouldn't hold our breath waiting for that one, which was a real shame.
I saw Colin and Kristian talking about the US Army in the Pacific, and yeah, they often get left out because it wasn't just the US Marines. It was actually the US Marines supported by all of the US Army logistical train. Plus, they had regimental combat teams in there. A lot of troops that, especially at Boona, we spoke before about the US Army at Boona and helped with the Australians. So yeah.
Although I do remember, because there was a US Army division that went into action alongside some Australians, and they lost them. Like, they disappeared into the bush and nobody saw them for ages, and then eventually they came out and went, "We got lost, sorry."
Yeah, that was a battalion. That was at Boona. So one battalion kind of went the wrong way and got lost. And
New Guinea's not a good place to get lost.
No. And so what happened? They had these inexperienced US Army regiment or battalion. I think it was, I can't remember. I think it was either regiment or division.
Unit of some size,
Unit of some size attacking Boona, but they were completely unprepared. Like, this was something, it was one of the most, with the amount of gun pits and bunkers and everything that the Japanese had prepared, it was one of the most heavily fortified areas in the Pacific, with an inexperienced US Army unit with no gun support because they wouldn't let them bring their guns because they had no shit for it. And it's like, here, take this. And they just went, it was MacArthur looking at the satellite photos going, well, it's just grass and mounds and things. There's no fortifications. You can take that. So eventually the Aussies had to come in and help them, and they had Stuarts, and they were just slowly just taking out gun pits and things. But yeah, that's a really interesting battle if anyone wants to look it up.
Yeah. Boona and Ghana were the two. Yeah. So Trekan says, wasn't it a US Army division landed on Tarawa? I have seen some stuff recently about island campaigns where it's things like 2 Marine divisions and an Army division, and they would swap the Marines out when they got exhausted and plug the Army division in. So yeah, while you see a lot of stuff about it being Marines, there were certainly US Army. Yeah,
there was a lot, and yeah, they don't get enough credit, but I think they also saw it as a backwater, for the Army at least, a backwater deployment where really it was pretty hard fighting.
Yeah. All right, so where are we on to from here? There we go. So that's what we know. Are there any questions from you guys before we wrap this up? Is there anything that we might be able to answer or speculate about, or anything that you guys want to know? Again, with the proviso that we haven't seen the book yet. But we can make reasonable speculative guesses about what stuff might happen. Scott wants to know, Matilda Hedgehog, anyone? So what's the Matilda Hedgehog there, Kristian? Fill us in.
Sorry, what was that? My thing cut out.
Oh, the Matilda Hedgehog.
I don't know. I thought he was joking. What is it? I'm trying to go.
Oh, okay. The Matilda Hedgehog, as far as I know, it's got some sort of launcher on the back of it that actually fires HE things ahead of the tanks.
I can see it, yeah.
So they're fixed over the engine deck.
Never heard of it before.
Oh, really? No. I think I've seen.
Yeah, it's like a what What's the Sherman? Not the Calliope. What's the other version that shoots rockets?
One at Puckapunyal, it's in the displays.
Sorry, Harry.
The Tulip. Yeah, the Tulip.
It never saw action, apparently.
Oh, really? Okay.
No, it was too
That'd be
late.
cool. So it's basically Spigot shooting the Hedgehog Morgans. Aren't they the ones that are in the They're the anti-submarine weapons, aren't they? The Hedgehog launchers.
Yeah, the Hedgehog was the anti-submarine thing. So yeah, and again, actually, that was something that I'm really hoping from the version 3 book is going to turn up in the version 4 book. 1.5 ton trucks with rockets on them. So basically, there's a tube full of 4.5 inch rockets in just a welded open rack that just fire off, and you can see these things that are just like fat jeeps bouncing around as the rockets are firing out of the back of these things. I would absolutely want a unit of those.
That's a good question, Trekan. Are the British going to get the Volti Vengeance for Burma? I think they should.
Oh, fuck that. I want it for the Australians.
Best dive bomber of the world.
Yeah. Absolutely. There is actually a Volti Vengeance kit in 1/44th scale in plastic if anybody wants to do that in a non-BF way, if BF don't provide. It costs an absolute fortune, which is why I don't have a set, but
it's worth it.
They do exist.
Ask Kristian when I asked him to paint that same model for me from the Italian ones, and he was bitching about it the whole time.
Yeah,
they wouldn't fit together.
Shit kit. I'm assuming the British would get the Hurricanes for this period. You'd think so.
Well, I hope the Aussies get the Kitty Hawks from
yeah, absolutely. So I can't see that as a comment.
Can't see which
something weird was happening. I can't see one about Volti Vengeances here anywhere. But
no, I made it up.
You made it up.
Me.
So I'm sitting here looking through the comments going, who's talking about that? All right. So yeah, P40s would be great. And again, the Australians had them. So if I was doing anything, I'd be very interested to be doing the Australians in 42. Milne Bay, Bunagona in 42, 43, whatever that was.
The independent commando companies that the Aussies had.
Yeah, all of that sort of stuff. I would guess Coast Watchers would be really boring for Flames of War, though, because it's like, you have a Coast Watcher. It's like, okay, I'm occupying this position. Cool.
Yeah,
I'll just stay here.
With 2 guys to help him carry his radio around.
Yeah.
But
you have to roll for malaria every turn.
Yeah.
Sorry, what was that, Kristian?
I said the Papuan scouts and all of that would be pretty cool to add in there.
It would be fun. Oh, Owen Guns. Yes, Owen Guns.
Actually, that's interesting. Do you think BF would ever do, and probably not, it's the same reason people are asking for Korea, but the Malayan emergency with the Aussies and the special forces and stuff, SAS running around in the jungle hunting for.
Too niche, isn't it? It's too niche.
Yeah, it is too niche. Coastal defence guns for Aussies, that'd be fun. Don't know that we ever actually had any.
Well, we did, they just didn't shoot.
Yeah,
they didn't do
any mid-war monsters for Pacific, like Africa or East Front? Is there anything that would qualify? There's all the World of Tanks bullshit.
The Matilda Hedgehog, apparently.
Right.
The Churchills.
What else? Yeah.
Yeah.
We did have Churchills, but we just never used them.
Were they anywhere in
I think
India,
Burma
in
or
India
Malaya?
Burma, they had them in 44, late 44, to replace the Grants, but they were just too heavy and they just weren't good enough for the job. And I think they used the Lee Grants up until the end of the war.
Yeah.
As well as Germans, obviously.
They really liked the Lee Grants. Oh, well, that's something. I've actually got to post them down to Kristian, but a mate of mine printed out some 3D printed Lee and Grant 75mm guns with a counterweight on the end.
Oh, yeah, I saw that on Facebook.
Yeah, they look
They
cool,
look
yeah.
great.
Yeah, so find someone with a 3D printer and print some of those out.
Absolutely.
So does this mean that we're going to get a second supplement, so 44 to 45 of the Pacific, or is this it?
I think it would depend on how much it sold.
Yeah.
Because I find it such a strange way of releasing it. I really would have liked to have seen 44 to 45 first, because you don't have to worry about all the minor nations. And then if they're going to do 42 to 43 or even 41 to 43, then they could have really gone into making
So
it more.
what would be in the 44 to 45? Just the Japanese?
Well, what you get now, the Marines, the US Army, the Brits, like the Brits now, all they really
British
did was,
Army in
other
44
than
to
lose
45.
Malaya and Burma, all they really did was sit in India, try and take the Arakan, which they failed the first time. And then they just sat in India waiting to build up enough strength to then take the Japanese on again. It just seems a bit of a weird period of the Pacific War to focus on.
Is it a game issue, though? Because by that stage, the US has a significant material advantage. You've got lots of aircraft dropping bombs, lots of ships shooting the shit out of you, and you've got a whole bunch of half-starved Japanese guys in bunkers. I can't see that being a really engaging game.
Because I don't know because they did have late war armies for the Japanese and the Marines in version 3. And if you ever actually try to take them to the tournaments, they just get ruffle stomped. Unless you had those Niki Haku teams with the heat, which apparently tank armies hated because they just get ambushed and murdered by crazy Japanese guys with bombs on sticks.
Yeah.
I think it's a game balancing, because I was kind of, even before they brought this out, I thought, well, could I do a Burma British force, like and for late war? And what I kind of got told was, well, use the Armored Fist book.
Yeah.
In a late war setting. So what I mean is, like, if they release that in a 44 and you try to use it in any other late war list that wasn't Japanese, it just wouldn't be balanced. So I think that's kind of why they've done the mid-war, because you can still do Malaya, you can still do the Singapore, you can still do like Solomon's, New Guinea, that sort of stuff, and island hopping. But
and again, it would be interesting to see M3 Stuarts versus Hargo, or even Type 97. That would be an interesting matchup. Seeing Type 97 against Shermans, and particularly like late war 44, 45 Shermans.
Or a 76 mil.
Yeah, 76 mil. Yeah, that's just like, nah, thanks for coming, but, you should just paint them.
I don't know, because they did it though. That actually happened. So it's
they did. Yeah. All the
and they because I only really know the British, but like Infal, for example, that was a slugfest, and the Japanese brought tanks up and they used tanks in that battle well. And the British had Grants and Lees, and they got stuck. They couldn't, they were surrounded and they were taking an absolute beating. So, I still think there is ways of buffing the Japanese in a late war sense that would still make them strong. It's just, if you take them to a tournament, obviously they're going to, if they're coming up against Tigers.
But in saying that, Christian, I knew some really good tournament players that played late war Japanese in tournaments, and they smashed it. So it's I think it's more, if you do have that guy that's playing late war Germans with Tiger tanks versus Japanese infantry teams, it's like, But what they could do is like a matched booklet or something that was, if you want to recreate the Burma battles,
here they
this
are.
is what the British had, this is what the Japanese had.
And again, I mean, I remember I watched a video about Type 97s versus Shermans in Luzon, and there was a guy who used his tanks really well. hid them, waited for the Shermans to advance past his position, leapt out and shot them in the arse. Disabled one and destroyed two or something. But the comment after the video was, and unfortunately, while that tactic was tried a number of times by other Japanese commanders, it never actually worked. So, yeah, there is probably a way that you could finesse the game to make it work, but in real life, it wasn't that particularly useful.
Because the way the Japanese won was that they basically would ambush you or attack you out of the jungle, and the way how Flames of War works, you can see.
But V3 had the Fallschirmjäger Panzerfaust hidden
like
teams.
the
that
tank
you could
traps.
just pop,
Yeah.
you just pop up anywhere on the board, and as long as they're within X amount of distance, they can come out and fire the Panzerfaust or Panzerschreck, whatever it was.
You couldn't do a whole army.
Same thing with the Japanese. You know, somebody sitting in their spider hole with an anti-tank grenade.
I'm sure you could do it, and I think that'd be a really good way to do it, to have like a theatre booklet, I guess, kind of like how other games have like a theatre.
Yeah.
Anyway, it just means spitballing. It would have been nice to see if you're focusing on 42. It would have been good to see like even just a bit of an inclusion of the Dutch, or just any of that sort of stuff.
And Kristian, we're not giving you a hard time about that. I'm saying probably for game balance, 42 and 43 will be a more playable game for people without having to be working really hard to make that go. So, no, I fully understand you would love to see the Dutch earlier and the later Japanese stuff and Marines. I'm just not sure it would be as much of a fun game generally for people.
Yeah, they've got it makes sense. I'm just looking at it from a perspective of a company. They've already got all the models for the late war stuff. You know, they've got the Shermans, they've got everything that they need. So they cover all they need, and they've got the Japanese stuff because they used to release it. So, I don't know. It just seemed a bit of a weird choosing, but yeah, like you said, it makes sense from a gaming perspective, but from a historical perspective, it's a bit of like a head scratcher for me. I'm looking at it like. Doesn't make a lot of sense, but that's just my opinion, obviously.
I wonder if that would make it very easy to do the 44, 45 later, though, as a supplement or a PDF or something. Because if all the kits are there, if the kits are there and all you have to do is have new army lists and a couple of special rules, that's like a PDF and a card pack. So, that might be easy to do. I guess if you have to use sophisticated tactics always to stop the enemy, that army won't be that popular. And even good armies played by people like me don't do all that well. So, some of them come with built-in disabilities.
I like that comment from Scott up there. He said the bloke who designed the Sentinel 17-pounder installation told the people designing the Firefly how to fit it as a turret. So. Yep.
Because there had been an awful lot of, no, that doesn't go into that before.
Well, that's why it's got that massive box on the back, isn't it? Just to fit.
Yeah, well, you had to take the radio out. So you had to cut a hole in the back to stick the radio in a box at the back. Otherwise, you had to have somebody running around with the Mark 19 set following the tank around.
Tank telephones. I really am looking forward to the Aussies, of course, but actually the Indian troops. I think that'd be really cool, fleshing those guys out. I think what you used to have in V3 was the rifle platoon, the heavy HMG, and the mortar platoon, pretty much, and the Indian pattern carrier.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's much else to add, except maybe some gun teams. If they brought out some gun teams for the Indians, both the artillery and the anti-tank guns, but that'd be cool.
So, Kristian, given the Pacific is your area, what are you looking forward to buying and painting if you make yourself a Pacific Army?
Well, I've already got a Pacific British Army, so I'll probably have to.
Oh yeah, we forgot about them.
Yeah, I'll buy the new metals, infantry, and I've already got the Japanese in metal form, so I suppose I'll have to get some US stuff.
Yeah,
but I'm looking for. I'll probably repaint some British stuff. I'd like, maybe some Indians. as well as obviously just flushing on the Japanese. I really would have liked to have seen if they're going to release any new Japanese stuff, infantry-wise, maybe something like camouflage. So, where they've got all the bits of bush hanging off them and stuff like that. That would look pretty cool.
Oh, if I know you,
you'd
you'd just run off and get some of that photo etch leaves and stuff and just stick them all over your figures. That'd work.
Yeah, that's too much work. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, it looks good. Don't get me wrong. I'm happy that they're doing it and the Brits have been included. So yeah, I'll definitely grab some stuff. Whatever I don't have, I'll grab.
Weirdly enough, I've gotten really interested in the Japanese over the last couple of weeks that we've been talking about this, and I've been running off and doing some research and watching videos about all the different tanks. It's like I could see me like ordering some of this and having a go at having a Japanese army, which is not something I would have said 2 weeks ago. So, and I mean, we have a whole bunch of guys who've come to watch this stream. So, I mean, the Pacific won't be huge, but the people who do like it really like it.
Yeah.
It'll be popular. Yeah.
I just think the old metal miniatures, especially the Japanese ones, were really cool. They were really detailed. My problem is I just keep on buying them all, and they sit in the box, and I'll get to them one day.
Harry San leads the way. Oh dear. Watashi wa incompetent commander at this.
Well, Zen wa karimasen.
More popular than Clash of Steel. Well, we'll see when that comes out. We will. All right, guys. I think that's probably it for us for the Pacific, isn't it? Is there anything you guys want to say apart from we really want a Volti Vengeance, please?
I do want a Volti Vengeance, actually.
Time to hit eBay.
I've got some dice restocks. So I'm going to put them up on the weekend. I've got some Napoleonic Imperial Russian dice back. I've got one brand new dice, which is a Hungarian paratrooper dice for the late war parachute division.
That was just in my head being hungry paratrooper.
Hungry paratrooper. They were hungry.
Yeah.
Especially Budapest. And what else? Yeah, that's it.
What about decals? You were saying you're thinking about more decal stuff?
I'm doing more decals. I'm doing specific British desert divisions and markings.
Which I'm really looking forward to.
And I'm even doing black numbers for you, Harry.
Thank you.
Tanks with black numbers. And I'm doing the bishop self-propelled Valentine conversion. I'm doing up a decal set for those.
Because we were looking up all the battery markings.
Yeah,
it was driving us bananas because in the period we were looking at, it changed from one system to another. It's
complicated because they go, we'll do it this way, and then from mid-war to late war, they went, no, we're going to do it a different way. But
similar system, but done different. It's like, what are you people doing? Adam and I are busy looking at all the things going, but that's not what the spec says. We're looking at all these photos going, that's not.
And I guess probably a little bit of rant in the British late war marking or tank marking in general. They've got this system which just say this is how everyone's going to use this system. So like armor service number on the left and division number on the right. And then there's units who just go, you know what, but we like it the other way around. So they do that, or they just put this other number somewhere else. And and I'm also doing squadron markings, but with numbers inside. So a lot of the units, especially so they had like some of them done numbers by troops. So this was one troop and this is two troop, and the other ones go, no, we want to number every single tank. So this is, if we've got 12 tanks, we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, until them 12.
Did no one ever stop and think this is going to make life really hard for modelers and wargamers in times to come when we're doing this? We just really need to be more consistent. We need to write down what we're doing.
Yeah. Well, and don't get me started on bridging numbers.
Because
it's like, all right, let's make, for example, the Cromwell, let's say it's 26. And then, great, everyone, let's play at 26. But, you know, these centaurs will make
27.
27. And then you'll see one that's gone, but we like 28. And so you'll see historical photos of the same tank with 3 different bridging numbers, and you're like, well, which one fucking is it? And,
but some of them can be, as they add more equipment, they've gone, oh, it's got fat. Quick, change the number.
Yeah, but so,
do my tracks look fat in this particular bridging marking?
Yeah. So I can guarantee when I put out a decal set with bridging numbers, someone will go, well, actually, I've seen a photo with it saying 29 and not 30. And it's like, yeah, well, great. Then you probably did.
27 3/4.
That's
But I remember we did that one night while we're busy pulling historical photos down and going, well, I've got one that says 26. I've got one that says something different.
Yeah. So, it can be whatever you want it to be. There you go.
So Scott wants Pacific Australian markings. I would add to that New Zealand markings for the Valentines. Because as I was doing the research for the New Zealanders, it's like, oh, yeah, so they've got these particular marking schemes for it.
What was that regiment with the little dragon wyvern looking thing?
4th Tank Brigade, I think.
Okay, I'll have to have a search.
All the New Zealand people are now throwing things at the stream.
Yes.
Yeah.
We've lost all of our Kiwi audience.
Details for the British 4th Armour Brigade. Have been trying to find them. Well, you might be in luck.
You might. What do we got? Yeah, for that. Dave has gotten fat and his way to the bridging number. Every morning, like, you'll have to weigh the crew as well. It's like, no more bully beef and hardtack for you.
Just whilst I think of it, I'll also give a shout out to Davey's super channel. I think he commented on it.
He did
at the very start.
Who's Davey's?
Hey, Davey.
He's got some fantastic Pacific videos. He's done the Dutch East Indies from Peter Pig. He's done BF Japanese, I think. Painting guys as well.
This is Scale Trader.
Is he a Scale Trader as well? Like, I'm not sure we can allow that on a 15 mil channel.
Mil.
All right.
No, he's 15 mil.
We'll let him off then.
Yeah, I think I have seen some of his videos, and I agree.
He's painted a Japanese tank. It's all recent stuff, so it's worth checking out. It's good stuff, really good stuff.
Yeah.
Actually, if anybody is interested in this, one of the rabbit holes I went down was painting Japanese tanks, and so in 43 they started putting the yellow stripe on their tanks as well as the 3-color camouflage. And somebody was talking about how yellow is a very translucent color, so it's very hard to paint. So there's a Battlefront video where they actually talk about painting it with like a sand yellow first, and then coming with your cavalry yellow afterwards to make sure you get really good coverage.
You see the... Oh, sorry. Oh, yeah.
Yep. No, you can have an exclamation, Adam, if you
go. Davey's the guy that does those really cool bases with the unit. They're really cool. Yeah.
All right. Well, we have to finish the stream now so that I can go and find out what this guy's channel is and have a look. Closing thoughts. Kristian, you're looking to take a hiatus from the Table Ready stream because you're too successful now and you don't want to talk to us plebs who helped you when you were...
I'm a scale trader. And you're doing better than me, so I'm definitely not too successful.
With my shuttered channel that's not releasing anything at the moment? Yeah.
Mate, you'll release something soon and you'll skyrocket back up like you always do.
Anyway, we do want to wish you the very best, though, because we're actually going to miss you on this. We've been horribly irregular. We haven't been doing it the way we want to. But we always look at...
We can fix that.
Yeah. But no, if you decide you want to come back and talk to the little people at some point later on, then we'll still be here.
I'll definitely want to come back for, appearances, especially Pacific related. But I think you need to find somebody else that can handle those Team Yankee conversations because I just sit here fast asleep. So, I think you'll find somebody better than me for that sort of thing.
Well, we might find somebody different. I don't know about anybody better than you.
Well,
right.
it's been a pleasure, guys. Cheers.
Yeah, well, best of luck with everything.
Yeah.
Guys, thank you
thank
to everybody also who has come along, watched us live. You guys do help drive this conversation. So, you know, people keep saying things like 22nd Armoured Brigade, British 7 Armoured Decals, so that Adam knows what he has to go and make. So, yeah, this stream wouldn't be anywhere near as much fun without you guys coming along and doing it live in the comments. So we love everybody who comes and watch our videos again afterwards, the streams, but you guys who can actually make it along and help drive us along, you guys always make this much better. So round of applause for you guys as well.
Thank you, guys.
All right, so final thoughts, or are we going to pull the plug?
I've just got Valentine's, so many Valentines to paint.
So many Valentines, all right.
So I'm doing...
If anyone wants to paint anything British, sorry, Adam, 15 mil, you can find out on my channel. I'm going to plug that. As well as infantry, British infantry.
All right. Well, I want to see a Valentine, midboard desert Valentine and Kristian. After you do that winter T34, with the design.
Hey, that's 28 mil. You won't watch that.
I will watch it if you paint it. If you paint that one, I'll watch it.
No, we have to watch it, but we have to make the screen smaller so that it looks 15 mil.
Right.
That's what we have to do. All right, guys. Thanks, everybody. Thank you for Adam and Kristian to come along and talk about that. I hope the Pacific has been fun. We haven't had a ton of information, but we've given you what we have got. And it has been, like, we have talked about this more than a lot of other releases that have come up and done stuff. So, yeah, I was surprised by how much fun this was. So, yeah, thanks, guys, and we will see you all next time. Bye for now.
See you guys.
Except Kristian. Kristian won't see you next time.
No, Kristian won't see you at all.